So hello gamers, today I'm going to be showing you the best suppressors in Phantom Forces and an overall suppressor guide. Because they buffed the suppressors, I'm also recording this live. Let's go with AUG A3 for this. Okay, so the generic suppressor, the default suppressor, it now retains your damage and your range and reduces your rotational recoil by a small amount. Now you might be asking, what's the downside of this? It reduces your aiming walk speed, and that's about it. It basically is a direct upgrade. However, only a 70 stud detection radius and compensator is kind of better, let's be real. Now, there is not a huge downside to using this. It does not affect your ranges, your velocity, or anything like that. So now you can actually use a suppressor. Keep in mind, this is probably best on like the HK416, where it will be reducing your rotational recoil. Obviously, let's be real, the compensator is better for reducing overall recoil. I don't think they changed the muffler though, so we're not going to really be talking about that. Regular suppressor is only like 20 kills, and now if you don't have a compensator, it is a direct upgrade. I don't see any downside to it. It does make your aiming walk speed slower, so when you're aiming down sights, you won't walk as fast. But yeah, lower recoil, same ranges, same velocity. This is really good, and it's very quiet. The default suppressor obviously isn't going to be quite as good as a compensator, but it is better than nothing, and I really do like they're actually changing that. It's a really good feature. So yeah, use this on the HK416, or if you want a suppressor, it's not a direct downgrade like it used to be, and it does make your gun very quiet. So then we have the R2 suppressor. This has a better detection radius, so people will not be able to see you from as far away. And this one has a small benefit to recoil while reducing your maximum range a small amount. So this one is a little bit heavier, but it does reduce your max damage range. So do not use it on any gun with a 3-hit kill or any gun that loses hits to kill directly after its max damage range, like the P90. Other than that, it's not too bad, and keep in mind, it's not going to have a massive effect on recoil like the compensator does, but this is also pretty good. I kind of prefer the default suppressor. Really quiet, especially in the AUG A3, which I don't remember using suppressors ever on. But yeah, this is a really solid suppressor overall. I would definitely say that it's not the best one. So next up we have the ARS suppressor. It has a minimal effect on damage, which isn't true. It doesn't have any change to damage at all. Okay, it is affecting your max and min camera kick. Oh, it's affecting your displacement recoil. It seems to lower recoil displacement. That's about it. It doesn't actually have huge effects on ranges, but it does make your min range a little bit shorter. Only 4 studs though, not a big deal. But yeah, this one has not the best sound effect. I've never really liked the sound effect of this one, but now that it doesn't have a massive effect on min damage, this is a pretty good suppressor, not gonna lie. I feel like default suppressor is my favorite of all of these because it actually has a decrease of rotational recoil, and it doesn't have a ton of downsides at all. These have a small downside to ranges, but that's it. I really like this. I hope they add a monolithic suppressor for better ranges. That would be really cool. Don't make it a huge increase in ranges, but like basically the opposite of the oil filter, something like that. I'm a really big fan of the changes on these suppressors. Come on, man. But obviously compensator just has the better recoil. Compensator is still gonna be better, but the fact that this is a lower kill, not this one, the other suppressors are lower kill unlocks, makes them actually pretty good for low kills. Then we have the PBS4. This has a 30 stud detection radius, and it actually does decrease your rotational recoil by quite a bit. It does decrease your min damage range by a little bit more, but only 7 studs in this case, but it could be more on other guns. And it does make your aiming walk speed quite a bit slower, about like 0.5, so you will notice when you aim down sights, you kind of walk pretty slow. Not a huge problem, and if you're using it on a rotational recoil gun, this is actually really solid. You can tell, like, the recoil is kind of lower. Still, compensator is better, but if you do want this one is pretty good. And keep in mind, the lower walk speed is only while aiming, and people don't really walk around a ton while aiming, and your default walk speed is the exact same. So this is actually really solid. Overall, I would say this one and the default suppressor are two of my favorites. This one is really heavy. It does have a 30 stud detection radius, which is very, very good. Basically, if you're more than 30 studs away from a person, they won't be able to see you on the radar, which, you know, nobody checks the radar anyway. If you're playing against a really good player, he won't be able to see you, and also it is very, very quiet. So basically, you will not get shot as much, hopefully. I don't know. Loudener did get changed, but maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. So the Osprey suppressor provides better hipfire accuracy, range, and exceptional masking. However, aim accuracy is not affected. The thing about this is that you have better hipfire and a better min damage range, and you don't lose min damage. This is now an incredible attachment on very specific guns. Not great for aiming, obviously. The compensator is still going to be better for aiming. However, for the better ranges, if you don't want to use a long barrel, this doesn't have any of the downsides that a long barrel does. It has really good sound masking, and it does make your hip fire better. So this is a insanely good suppressor. I would say on the guns this is on, it was probably the best suppressor in the entire game before, but now it is even better. This is really, really good. Like, I think this is probably the best suppressor in the entire game, possibly, because it just doesn't have the other downsides. Keep in mind, you could use long barrel on the Colt SMG, but you go from 120 to 144. That's pretty good. 24 studs a min. Keep in mind, long barrel is 150, but long barrel does increase your velocity. It does make your aiming walk speed slower and your overall walk speed slower, which is a pretty nice downside considering, let's be real, it's basically a long barrel, and it does make your aiming and equip speed slower by a decent amount as well. I would say this is overall a side grade to the long barrel, which is really good considering the long barrel was always a direct upgrade to literally everything else. Now that there's kind of a competitor on 9mm and 45 guns, I believe, this is pretty nice. I do not like how horizontal recoil is pretty bad, not gonna lie. But if you're gonna be running a hipfire setup, this is gonna be really good. The best barrel in the game, probably for hipfire, except maybe the compensator might be better, but you know, it doesn't necessarily increase your hipfire accuracy. But using stubby grip and Osprey suppressor, this is really accurate. Is it the most accurate gun in the entire game? No, but I feel like on the L2A3, let me try this on the L2A3. It's gotta be really good. All right, Osprey suppressor. Okay, this must have the best hipfire of all time. Let me see this. Look at how accurate that is. It is so accurate. I think we discovered a really, really good combo. It's so accurate. It literally could hit anybody. Literally has infinite range. Look at this. So now you can run a suppressor on guns like the Intervention. Keep in mind, it does in some cases make your aiming speed slower, but the suppressor is no longer just a direct downgrade on the Intervention. Okay, so Psionic suppressor does not lower your min damage, but it does still lower your max damage. T-break and Hera CQB. Hera CQR, you mean? Huh, that is really accurate. Okay, this is way more accurate. Jeez, thank you for telling me about this. The SR3M Vickers suppressor is really good. Wow. Okay, so this one is really crazy now. It now increases your max damage range to 50 studs and increases your min damage to 19.5, making this pretty much the old AS Val. That is ridiculous. So T-break and X-ring. So the T-break reduces both vertical and horizontal camera recoil. So it does make your camera recoil a lot better. And then you have the X-ring. The X-ring improves rotational recoil and gun displacement. Slightly higher felt camera recoil and little less effective with hipfire. So worse hipfire, better rotational recoil, a little bit more camera recoil. So basically this is going to be like, if you're using Hera CQR and this barrel, you are going to have no camera recoil, which means guns like the G3 and the HK416 are going to be ridiculously accurate. I kinda am scared about this, not gonna lie. Keep in mind, if you're gonna use the new suppressors, you can't use one of these new barrel attachments, so you know, just keep that in mind. But this is really scary, I'm not gonna lie. This setup, man, I am really scared that there's new recoil reduction attachments for barrels, because that has not happened in a long time, you know, except if you count like muffler and oil filter, but that was still like a year or two ago. Jeez, this is way more accurate. I am kind of scared. That is really accurate. So T-break is good for vertical and horizontal camera recoil. It doesn't seem to affect real recoil, but at the same time, camera recoil is pretty helpful. Because think about it, now you can run a stubby grip and have a folding grip as your muzzle. And if you have a ton of camera recoil and you don't like it, then you could actually use folding and the T-break. You can use it and have no camera recoil. Let's try that on the AK-47. Jeez, that camera recoil is non-existent now. Obviously, you don't have as good recoil as a compensator, but it's so good. You can run like Coyote now and actually be able to see where you're shooting. So integral suppressor on the MC51 did not get a huge change. It doesn't reduce damage, but it never did when it first came out. The new barrel attachments are cool and all, but I really like the suppressor buff. I don't know how much I'm going to be using them, but they are really nice. For example, L85A2, maybe you could use that, but actually, wait a minute. X-ring barrel. I'm scared about this. That is so accurate. Oh no. Look at that, dude. It's even more accurate than it was before. These new barrels are so stupid. They're so crazy. Okay, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that I can run a suppressor now on this gun and have literally no downside and lower rotational recoil. Oh my gosh, suppressors, man. This is crazy. They should buff short barrel, not gonna lie. I guess we can also talk about Loudener. So Loudener now reduces your muzzle velocity, increases your suppression. It does reduce your velocity, but it does reduce your recoil, which makes That sounds so cool. Here's my problem with the Loudener. It increases your muzzle flash, and it's really loud, but it increases your muzzle flash by quite a bit. It is very hard to aim when you have that much muzzle flash, and the fact that it does reduce recoil now is cool. All right, so now you can still not have the best recoil with this, but I hate the muzzle flash thing. I don't like it. It's probably cool for a lot of people. I just wish you could choose to not have this much muzzle flash. It's a lot of muzzle flash, I'm not gonna lie. Loudener on MP7 sounds very cool. It's literally the exact same sound effect as the Half-Life SMG. Like, the exact same sound effect. They just lifted it. Anyways, gamers, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like and sub, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.